And you read Vince Young leading the way for the Green Bay Packers. He was signed mid-training camp, had a nice outing last week, and he gets the nod tonight as the Packers released Graham Harrell, who had been the backup quarterback in Green Bay. And the running back is Eddie Lacy off the left side. Nice job by that Chiefs defense. And that is no gain. We take a look at Chase Daniel's interception here, and we see that A.J. Jenkins fell down, Trent.
Well, yeah, he has a slip. He's not completely clean with his route running, and that could cause some of the timing miscues with Chase. But once again, you got to be able to see out in front of the receiver, and I don't want to put all the blame on A.J. And obviously this is you get locked in. You know what the opening play is. You know what you want to do, and you've hit that play several times during the week, and you're excited about getting the play and getting A.J. involved in the game plan, and those are all things that kind of go through your mind as you're trying to execute the play.
As the Chiefs look for their wide receivers and who are going to be the supplements after Dwayne Bowe, the big trade last week, and we'll get back to that conversation after the break. It's early in Kansas City. It's 0-0. Well, until moments ago, the Chiefs had not thrown an interception through 3 games of the preseason. Chase Daniel just threw his first on the first play, his first pass. And Vince Young and the Green Bay offense right now facing 2nd down and 10 on the 35-yard line. Chase going to get a lot more snaps tonight as the starter's not playing for Kansas City, so Alex Smith will be watching from the sideline. Eddie Lacy for the 2nd time in a row, this time off the right side. Tackle that time, gain of 2. Quentin Demps makes the tackle for that Chiefs D. Here are tonight's Truman Medical starting lineups on the defense. Again, these are the backups getting an excellent chance to show their worth on this defense and really on this entire team, including special teams, those that play there, because the next step for John Dorsey, the general manager, cutting from 75 down to 53, tonight's the final chance for a lot of these backups to impress. 3rd down and 9 for Vince Young. And Chiefs defense calls timeout. There's Bob Sutton, the defensive coordinator. We talked a lot before that first game, Trent, about what would his defenses look like. They were so aggressive with the overload blitz with the Jets when he was under Coach Ryan there. What have you seen in 3 games?
Well, and that's where you have to find a balance in the preseason, is how much do you actually show and how much do you keep under your hat for the regular season. And if I think you look back to the Pittsburgh game, they didn't do a lot of blitzing, but they had timely blitzes. There were several times they overloaded one side. I can think, for instance, Tyson Hartman had a sack last week where they brought two defensive backs from one side and dropped out Tamba Hali on the other. So there were times throughout the preseason that they showed some of those combinations, but of course you don't want to show too much with the regular season right around the corner.
If this was a regular season game on 3rd down and 9, you'd expect a heavy blitz. And they bring 4 here. Vince Young stepping up in the pocket, going to keep it himself. And the Chiefs in the pursuit, led by Darren Drakeford, keep Vince Young from reaching that 1st down.
Well, and this is something that Vince Young has a long history of doing. If the play breaks down right now, the Chiefs are only rushing 4, so he drops 7 into coverage. And right there, Bradley McDougal comes flying up from the secondary position and forces Vince Young, who looks
in his tenure in Kansas City. Vince Young, the quarterback here for the Green Bay Packers. Jonathan Franklin, rookie 4th-round pick out of UCLA, to his right. Vince Young complete there, and that is a Green Bay 1st down. Young's completion goes for 14 yards. Tackle made by Hussein Abdullah.
When you could see Hussein Abdullah working in the slot there. That was something that he had to do a week ago when Quentin Demps wasn't playing, and he did a very productive job. So now all of a sudden when you start talking numbers, 3, 4, 5 safeties, are you thinking 4, 5, 6 corners? Do you have safeties that can play the slot? Do you have safeties that can do coverage? All of a sudden that creates some issues when you're trying to figure out your roster and who your special teams guys are. And it's a good problem to have when you have safeties that can cover.
Nice job of pursuit there by Frank Zombo. Moments ago in the last drive, we saw Darren Drakeford come from that direction and chase down Vince Young. Zombo getting it done there to keep that to a short game for Green Bay.
You can see Frank Zombo will be coming from the right side of the screen. He does a nice job coming down the line of scrimmage, pursuing, but you can see he maintains leverage. He keeps that leverage, so if the cutback happens, he's right there to make the tackle. You got You got Zach Dials pursuing from the inside, but with Zombo maintaining backside, there's no cutback, no room for the running back to take it all the way around.
Knows the Packers pretty well. Played the last 3 seasons in Green Bay. Vince Young there inaccurate. And that's incomplete looking for Jeremy Ross. Bring up 3rd down and 6. Again, in the regular season, we'd expect a heavy blitz here, but preseason, he might, Bob Sutton might hold off on one of his fancier looks that he would show in this spot in 10 days.
Well, and as we mentioned earlier, it was something that, you go back to the last 3rd down where Vince Young was tackled on the scramble. They had 7 guys up in the box, and they dropped everybody into coverage and only rushed 4, and it appears that they're doing the same thing here. You have a lot of bodies up around that box. 7 guys near the line of scrimmage. Just depends on how many guys drop out into coverage, and they bring 6.
And that's a blitz, and they get to Young. He steps up and gets rid of it. He avoids the sack, but the Chiefs' pressure getting it done there and forcing the incompletion. Marcus Dixon in there, Frank Zombo as well.
When you put that type of pressure on a quarterback and you close that down, there's no passing lane. Sometimes if you close that pocket enough, you can see Vince takes his eyes, those initial couple steps, his eyes weren't downfield anymore. He was just trying to find a place to escape and slide over. Then he's able to get his eyes back up before he gets hit, but by no means are you going to have an accurate throw when you've got that tight of a pocket to get out of.
A number of things to discuss here. Let's get started with year number 2 of the partnership with the University of Kansas Hospital and the Chiefs organization.
Well, it's a tremendous partnership, and we're so lucky to be affiliated with a quality medical institution like the University of Kansas Hospital. We've got their doctors on the sideline. Our fans have the opportunity to go to clinics in the stadium that are staffed by the University of Kansas Hospital folks. And then here in a couple weeks, we're going to open up a sports medicine center in our training facility that's going to be available to the public 7 days a week. If they have problems, they can come get an MRI, get an X-ray, have the same doctors that are looking after the Chiefs look after them.
2nd down, 13 now coming up for the Packers. Vince Young back in the game. And Green Bay out near, I believe, out past the 1st down stick, and that'll be a 1st down Green Bay.
Well, the fan experience here at Arrowhead is great with the renovations that happened a few years ago, but talk about the continuing growth of the fan experience and what you want to get done. There's Wi-Fi and mobile apps and just really trying to create a better game day experience for the fans.
Well, everybody loves their mobile device, and they all bring it to the stadium. I do the same thing, and you want to be able to use it in the stadium. And so we felt it was important to get Wi-Fi in the building, and that's part of our new initiatives in terms of the fan experience this year. We've introduced Wi-Fi. We'll be fine-tuning it over the next several weeks and testing it as we have bigger and bigger crowds going into the regular season.
Nice play there by Jaleel Brown. We've talked about him a number of times here in the preseason, and also tonight made the tackle there to keep that a very short Packers game. So being in the stadium for game night is not enough for you here, Clark. You were also here last night as arts and sports kind of came together inside Arrowhead Stadium.
Yeah, it sure did. We had the grand unveiling of our art program last night. We spent the last 18 months picking the initial pieces that are part of our art program. We now have 11 of them up on the club level of the building, and it was just a great night.
Nice job by the Chiefs pass rush affecting Vince Young there and forcing the inaccuracy on that 2nd down pass.
Well, and yesterday was the kickoff luncheon where a lot of the community had the opportunity to meet John Dorsey and hear from Andy Reid and see some of the players up close and personal when they're not in their uniforms and their helmet. Just talk a little bit about the outlook on the season and what you've seen so far this preseason.
Sure. Well, first of all, yesterday's event was fantastic. I've been to a few kickoff luncheons, and it was really one of the best. You could just see the great chemistry between Andy and John on stage. We had a bunch of our leaders from the team up on stage talking about the season. And the thing that's consistent with everybody is so optimistic and so positive about the upcoming season.
Well, I think there's reason to be optimistic and positive when you see all the changes that have happened this offseason. You see the progress that's going on through the offseason and now carried over into training camp and the preseason. And you can just see the excitement. You can hear the excitement, feel the excitement around town and here in the stadium as well.
Yeah, it's followers.
Nobody's surprised there. 1st down and 10 Packers. Jonathan Franklin, the rookie tailback. All-time leading rusher at UCLA. And he has it around the right side. Interesting what the Packers did there in the draft trick. They've been so much led by Aaron Rodgers in the passing game, but They were the first team to take a running back. They went Eddie Lacy in round 2. For the first time in 50 years, we didn't have a back picked in the first round, and then they came right back in the 4th to get Jonathan Franklin, telling many people, or leading many people to believe, maybe the Pack will run it a little bit more this season.
Well, I think that's what they try and get everybody to believe.
That's what they want us to think.
That's why they want everybody. Well, you got number 12 over there,
right?
And the way he throws the football and the way he manages the game and the receivers that he has around him, just continually improving that aspect of the game. But I think it is important for the Packers to have a run aspect in there. You want to take some of the heat because, as you mentioned, Aaron Rodgers was the most sacked quarterback in the National Football League a year ago, and when you're throwing that many times, it's going to happen.
Ridge Wilson there, nice job once again. Doesn't get the sack, but he's the reason this play went the way of the Chiefs. Nice pressure, bringing down Vince Young and causing the incompletion. It'll be 3rd down and 9.
Well, and the Packers are showing a little bit of musical chairs here with their backup quarterback, trying to get B.J. Coleman and Vince Young both time to show what they can do, different situations, give them different series, give them multiple chances to try and establish who this backup's going to be.
Green Bay 1 out of 6 converting 3rd down situations into 1st downs, and now it's going to be 2 out of 7. Nice job by Vince Young, and an excellent job by Jeremy Ross, reading that ball in the air, coming back, and going up and getting it for the Green Bay firsts.
And that has to be the hardest thing for cornerbacks in the National Football League. It has become such a trend now, that back shoulder fade throw. And even though Vince Young put some air underneath that ball, a lot of teams around the league, and Aaron Rodgers in particular, they throw that back shoulder fade more on a line, not necessarily a jump ball kind of throw that Vince Young did there, but Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, you talk about a lot of these elite quarterbacks in the National Football League, they throw that firm back shoulder throw if they see the defender in the hip pocket of the receiver.
Vince Young looking deep in that one, incomplete. And that was something, let's say 10 years ago, 15 years ago, was around that back shoulder fade right at the goal line. When you were playing, were quarterbacks doing that out in the middle of the field as much down?
It was just starting to become a trend. It seems
pretty recent.
It does. As you mentioned, it was more of a red zone thing. It was, when you're out in the field, you want to get in front of that corner. You want to get on top of him and extend the field, stretch the field, and try and make those long passes. And now, with the contact rule that corners have to go by, safeties have to go by, that's become more a part of the offensive game plan because of some of the restrictions that are put on the defenders.
2nd down and 10 now for Vince Young. Alex Green off the right side. Chiefs defense there.
Well, and really, they've done a good job. You think about what the Chiefs have done this preseason, stopping the run. Really, the only thing that jumps to mind is that Frank Gore, the initial run that Frank Gore had, the San Francisco game where he picked up a big chunk. But for the most part, this defense, other than that one run, they've done a nice job of controlling the running game, controlling the line of scrimmage, and that's going to be an important part of this team moving forward this season.
3rd down and 8 now. Moments ago, Vince Young went to the right side, that back shoulder fade, to pick up a 1st down on 3rd and long. We'll see what he does here on 3rd and 8. Forced to step up in the pocket, throws off balance, and once again, no sack. But the Chiefs fronts, getting pressure without bringing a blitz and forcing the incompletion. Zach Dials doing a good job there.
Well, and from a big picture standpoint, this is a cover 22 man. We talked about that earlier with Chase Daniels, where 22 man, nobody covers the quarterback. Well, here, they cover the quarterback. Instead of rushing 4 that you typically do in that coverage, they spy a defender. They spy someone into coverage so that he can mirror Vince Young if he takes off and run, and that's where the pressure is.
The City General Manager John Dorsey. And what's it like to be doing your job here with Kansas City, looking across the field and seeing the team that you played for 5 or 6 years, and also spent the last 13 years in their front office?
Well, it's different. You see old friends, you have lifelong friends here, but it gives me, from a personnel perspective, it gives me a chance to evaluate the 4th preseason, not only their players, but our players as well.
Right.
Well, you speak about the evaluation process and what you're going to do here in this 4th preseason game compared to the other games. You like to get down on the field and and do some up-close evaluation.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things that I'd like to look at, and the only way you can see that is down there on the field. So once I leave here, I'd like to go down on the field to complete the second half and just kind of see, because you can feel the game a little bit differently down on the field.
You mentioned that you're, of course, evaluating your own roster and figuring out how you're going to get from 75 to 53, but you're also watching the team across the way. How do general managers walk that fine line between having the intimate knowledge of what the players on your side are all about and also knowing what the other rosters are doing too?
It's called technology. It's called being able to have that film tomorrow, being able to evaluate them. Our staff does a great job of consistently and every day. We're evaluating every team in the National Football League, and we're trying to determine who the 53 players are on that roster. And then what we'd like to do is, okay, if there's a guy from 54 to 60 that can help us, in that pool, let's go and see if he's better than what we have. And that's kind of what personnel guys actually do here.
Well, you establish yourself as a player through your special teams play, and that's going to be an important part of your evaluation, especially the guys we're seeing here in the second half. Not only what they can do offensively and defensively, but what they bring to the table from a special teams standpoint.
Well, there's three phases to the game: offense, defense, and special teams. And those backup players are going to have to play special teams, for 16 weeks. And then, if they have to fill in, they're going to have to fill in. But you'd like to have players who can actually line up and play, and also contribute as a special teams member. I think Dave does a great job getting these guys to play. He has this preseason.
Yeah, Dave Tobe, the special teams coordinator, have been a star as the special teams, especially the returns, have been very good. And Vince Young with the completion there.
Well, and we had to tease Dave a few weeks ago when we ran into him in the tunnel. We're saying, you're getting way more face time than a special teams coordinator normally gets, so keep up the good work.
He's done an outstanding job. We're very fortunate to have Dave Tobe here. I've considered him one of the top 3 special teams coaches in the National Football League, and it's a tribute to Andy, to get him here when he got him here in January. And you can see by the preseason game what he does mean and what special teams do mean. They make big plays.
Earlier in the first half, one of the bigger plays in the first half by the defense, John, the interception from Frank Zombo and the good return there. See a penalty marker coming in late, but as you were in Green Bay, he was also there for 3 seasons, so he must have earned your trust somehow to make you want to bring him down this way. What exactly did you see from him in your time in Green Bay that made you think this guy could be a Chief?
I'm very familiar with Frank, and what he does, again, that's when you begin to actually go out in the free agency market and say, okay, here's a player in Frank. He's going to give us depth at that position. You have Justin, you have Tomba, but now you begin to get depth and acquire depth like that. And then as we go along this process, you'd like to continually get more depth with the likes of Frank Zombo, because not only does he play teams, he steps into the game, a regular season game, and he can make plays and he can contribute.
Well, what does he bring to the meeting room? Obviously, being around him for those 4 years in Green Bay, he obviously brings something, either a leadership or a knowledge of the position that he can help carry over to the other guys in the room.
I think it's a combination of both. Frank is a true professional. He's very passionate about the game of football. He studies his craft, and that's really all you can ask for. And then when it's time for his time to be called, his number's called, you have to be able to show you can play the game, and he's shown that tonight.
Penalty marker coming in. It's going to be pass interference. It appears to be on Moody.
Holding, number 32, defense. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
And it is.
Well, there seems to be a blueprint. You just talked about Frank Zombo and what he brings as far as professionalism and being a pro. DeVito, defensive lineman. We've heard those same words used him. Chase Daniel, from a quarterback standpoint, he's a real pro, somebody that knows how to prepare and can be a good presence in that meeting room with Alex Smith. Obviously that's an important part of if you're bringing in veteran guys.
No, it really is, and as you all know, I think the locker room to me is if you can get a nucleus of guys together in that locker room that are very close and they understand exactly what the other guy's doing. And that's what training camp's all about. These guys came in as teammates and they left as family. And that proves that somewhere during the course of a regular season, that tight-knit bond will eventually help this team in one way or another during a hard course there, during a hard part of the game.
Injuries sneak up and can dictate your week, can change your week. I'm wondering what your week has been like after the injury to Tony Moeaki. Fractured shoulder, he's going to be out for at least a major portion of the season. The tight end position was already pretty new with Anthony Fasano and your draft pick Kelsey out of Cincinnati. You also have Harris here, an interesting project from Milwaukee. So share with us some of your thought process about that position after Moeaki goes down.
Well, what you want to do is, you have your emergency boys, and what you're doing is you're targeting various players on other teams that can, step in and help us not only contribute on special teams, but be able to be, a playmaker at that position. So that's why you go in and you evaluate the preseason, all the preseason games, to be able to stack your tight ends and say, all of a sudden, if this guy's released, you say, this guy can help us.
Right.
So let's get him.
You can help us after the break if you want to stay. How about that?
No, I'm going to go down on the field and watch football.
Okay, that's probably a better idea.
Okay.
John Dorsey, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay.
Try to see you.
We have been asking for you to
Diagnose and prevent concussions, as well as proper tackling techniques and equipment fitting.
False start, 17. Offense, half a distance to the goal. Still first down.
What an important time for the league to be involved in such an initiative. It's such a popular conversation in youth football, high school football.
Well, the NFL does a great job with their youth program, USA Football, and if you go to usafootball.com, they do a nice job of, they have video techniques, they have coaching techniques, they have plans for coaches to use, and with these seminars going on around the country, it's nice that coaches can come and get some awareness on how to handle concussions in young players.
Jarrell Poe with the tackle there for the Chiefs defense. Again tonight, starters on both sides of the football sitting it out. Second, third teamers battling to prove their worth and that they do belong to be on that 53-man roster. Final cuts from 75 to 53 coming up on Sunday. Vince Young backed up inside his own 2-yard line, and Jonathan Franklin, the rookie out of UCLA, is his tailback. Chiefs front 7 is that a safety? Franklin made it out across the goal line, just in between the goal line and the 1 before he was shoved back into the end zone. Ridge Wilson leading the charge there.
Well, it's interesting to see what the Chiefs have done on the first 2 snaps down here inside the 5. They go 8 guys in the box, going man-to-man on the outside with a safety deep in the middle. Whether or not they're giving Vince Young the freedom to check out of that, you have one-on-one on the outside and everybody stacked inside. The Chiefs do a nice job of closing off the initial point of attack and then rallying what many Chief fans were hoping would have been a safety.
Even in the preseason, we're getting a taste here why it's so tough to play at Arrowhead Stadium. It is loud. And Vince Young calling a timeout, going to have a quiet conversation on the sideline with Mike McCarthy. Right there, number 13, one of the many stories making up the preseason. The Packers deciding to sign Vince Young and make him their backup quarterback. We're back right after this, third down. Chiefs fans, here's your invite to show off your colors. You can get great Chiefs gear at the Chiefs Pro Shop at Arrowhead Stadium, or shop anytime online at shop.kcchiefs.com. Third down and 12 coming up here, and third down been a tough situation for the Packer offense so far tonight, as they are just 2 out of 9 converting third downs. And this will be their toughest one yet with the crowd on its feet and at its loudest inside that 1-yard line. Chiefs bring 5. Vince Young looking to the right side. And nice job of coverage there by Mooney, and the pass falls incomplete. On comes the punt team.
Yes, on bookends of one play. So I know where you're going with this. It's
game management.
Game management, exactly.
Vince Young still the quarterback here on first down and 10. And as we continue out with the next quarter and a half, we're going to take a big picture look at what the Chiefs are up against here in the AFC West. And if you're talking AFC West, you've got to start at the top with the Denver Broncos. And this is the team that won 13 games a year ago, Trent. They were excellent. And the Chiefs don't play until later, November 17th and also December 1st. So the big news with Denver, the suspension of Von Miller, not going to matter a whole lot come those 2 games against Kansas City. But 13 wins a year ago, the addition of Wes Welker, team might be even a little bit better this year once they get Von Miller back.
Well, and I think that's important to remember that the Chiefs, you mentioned, the Chiefs don't play Denver until November and December. They play them twice in a 3-week span. I think the important thing to remember is part of the first moves that John Dorsey did as general manager was to go out and get Sean Smith from Miami as a free agent and get Dante Robinson. And that's a direct reflection of what's going on in Denver. They go out and get Wes Welker. They have Demaryius Thomas. They have Eric Decker. So you've got a three-headed monster in a receiving core going on there in Denver, and you've got to have the secondary to cover those guys one-on-one. So I think that was a direct move based on what the Broncos did in the offseason, and I commend John Dorsey for recognizing that and attacking that aspect of his defense.
3rd down and 7 now coming up here for Vince Young. Bring the pressure, once again had to throw it early, and it'll be the punt team coming on. We do have a penalty marker down after that pass fell incomplete. Tyson Hartman there with the coverage.
Well, and bring the pressure is exactly the next reason why you go get Sean Smith and Dante Robinson. Peyton Manning is not going to be a runaround guy. He wants to stand in the pocket. He's not a guy that generally gets sacked a lot because he gets rid of the ball
foul,
quickly.
Unnecessary roughness, 31, defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
So with the addition of the secondary guys, now all of a sudden Justin Houston and Tamba Ali can come off the edge and get after Peyton Manning even more when that Denver game happens. And this is just poor decision on Tyson Hartman. He's a smart player. He's a guy that's made a lot of good decisions in the year and a half that he's been here. And that's just being overly aggressive when he doesn't have to be, giving Green Bay the first down and better field position.
Kansas City now 5 penalties for 40 yards. Back to the Denver conversation. I also think about when they face them, when the Chiefs face Denver in November and December. Eric Fisher going to need to be a veteran by then because you're going to have Von Miller coming off the edge and Sean Phillips, a veteran, 10-year veteran. Sacks in the 70s in his career with the San Diego Chargers. You're going to have pressure from both sides for Brandon Albert and also Eric Fisher to deal with.
Well, and that's going to be the important part of staying healthy, of Jamal Charles staying healthy, of Nile Davis developing as a young backup, establishing himself in the passing game as well as the running game. And, you know, from an offensive standpoint, you have to be able to keep pace with a Peyton Manning. You have to be able to put points on the board. And as much as Sean Smith and Dante Robinson bring, and having Justin Houston, Tamba Ali, and Dontari Poe, and Derek Johnson, and everybody bringing pressure on Peyton Manning, you know he's not going to idly sit by and just accept the fact that he's got 10, 13, 17 points. They're going to need to find ways to keep the ball out of his hands, establish the running game, establish ball control with their offense when they're facing Denver, and ultimately when you have some chances at big plays, take advantage of it.
Number 53, Mike Catapano, the Ivy League Defensive Player of the Year out of Princeton. The big tackle there. He also had the tackle to cause the fumble a little bit earlier in the second half, which the Chiefs did recover. 2nd down 9 for Vince Young now as we approach the 3-minute mark, and Alex Green remains the tailback for the Packers. Vince Young hurried, and that pressure leads to the inaccuracy. Anthony Toribio inside, knocking Vince Young down.
You see Toribio and Poe, 95 coming right up the middle. On the backside, Toribio's putting pressure, causing Young to step up, but with Poe's penetration, that's Jarrell Poe, not Dontari Poe, putting that pressure up the middle. Ridge Wilson, also free agent out of West Alabama, number 60, coming in there and putting pressure on Young as well.
3rd down and 9, the Chiefs bring 3, and Vince Young puts the ball on the turf. Ridge Wilson knocks it out of Young's hands.
Back-to-back plays for the free agent out of West Alabama. Coming off that edge, and when Vince Young slides to step up in the pocket, he's able to knock the ball loose. Watch him here on the left side of your screen. He just dips and gets lower and is able to, once again, for you young quarterbacks out there, Vince Young getting pressure in the pocket, goes to slide up. He takes that second hand off the ball. You have the ball in one hand. All it takes is one little flick, and that knocks the ball loose. So if you're feeling pressure, keep 2 hands on the ball and slide up in the pocket.
Packers eventually recover after that little scrum there. Punt return unit on, and coordinator now Ken Wisenhunt in. It's an interesting dynamic there for the play calling in San Diego. Vince Young throwing incomplete there. on 1st and 10. So you have Ken Wisenhunt, former head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, running the offense. You have Mike McCoy, who ran the offense in Denver along with Peyton Manning last season. I talked to Mike earlier this week, and he said Ken will be calling the plays there. So I thought that was interesting, that you have two offensive minds, one former head coach, one former offensive coordinator switching roles, and it's the OC who's going to be calling the plays.
Well, and I think that's, Mike recognizing the talent that Ken Wisenhunt had, what he has as an offensive coordinator, and understanding as a head coach, it's more his job, to manage the team and motivate the team, and that's his decision. There are some head coaches that like to call the plays, and Mike has made the decision to make it Ken's job, and I'm sure he's going to have some input. Obviously he's got a lot of background, and you talk about whether it's the Chiefs or the Chargers or the Raiders or whoever it may be that's going to be that second team behind Denver, or shouldn't necessarily give up the division right now, but the second team trying to pursue Denver to take away that division title is, McCoy has the advantage of knowing what that offense does in Denver and relaying those things to his defensive coaches in San Diego.
3rd down and 7. Chiefs string 3 again. Vince Young. A little bit underthrown there. Miles White couldn't come up with it. In the coverage from Kansas City, Greg Castillo, undrafted free agent rookie safety out of Iowa.
Calling him Big Red yet?
Yeah, Dwayne Bowe was an interesting first week in March. Remember, it went all the way up. It was approaching the time where, are they going to sign him to the franchise tag? Are they going to give him a long-term contract? And as we know, they invested in him long-term, 5 years, $56 million, and there is your #1 wide receiver for Alex Smith and Big Red for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and he seems much more at peace. We had a chance to talk to him several times. I talked to him up at training camp. We talked to him in production meetings. He's just really in a good place. He likes what Andy Reid has brought. He likes what Doug Peterson has brought. Dave Culley, the wide receiver coach, has brought a great presence to the wide receiver meeting room, to the practice field. Just having that type of coach has been invaluable, to Dwayne, and he's excited about what this team can do this year and excited about what the offense can do.
Vince Young fires incomplete there on 2nd down, bringing up 3rd down and 8. You mentioned Doug Peterson, and as I was studying this team in the spring and the summer and getting excited to come here to Kansas City for all the preseason games, it kind of struck me how many former and recent NFL players are on the staff. You start out with Doug Peterson, but you also have Andy Heck on the offensive line, Eugene Chung, Eric Bieniemy coaching the running backs, and you go over to defense, the man who knows the Packers very well, Al Harris, played 14 seasons in the NFL, the bulk of them with the Packers. He's working with the DBs.
Well, it is, and Andy's done a good job over the course of his career giving young coaches, young guys that are trying to transition from being players into coaches, giving them opportunities, to learn the coaching profession, and he's had a lot of success doing that. And once again, as you just mentioned, the guys that he's bringing in, Al.
We are young, but we're working towards being great. That's what we're trying to be.
What's your relationship like with Alex Smith?
I think Alex Smith is a great quarterback, and especially more important, a great person. Like, when I came in late into OTAs, and he was the first one to greet me, man, and say how, he's glad I was here. So, that's something that, it's embedded in my mind. Like, I want to protect him. And in the huddle, he's real calm, cool, and collective, and that's what you want to block for, somebody like that. And I got a lot of respect for Alex Smith.
And you had told me before at camp when we talked that you've kind of taken Eric Fisher under your wing. How is he developing?
He's coming along. It's going to be a process with him, but he's working hard towards it. And I think he's going to be a hell of a player. But it's going to be a process. He's going to take his lumps and bumps, but it's a work in progress.
And what is it that you're learning from Coach Heck?
I'm learning everything. Learning that you got to come to work every day. He press upon me that that I come to work, and I come with energy, and I come with a purpose, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
Rachel referencing Andy Heck, the former first-round pick, Cleveland Seattle Seahawks, nice long career in the National Football League, and we talked about that earlier, how many positions inside this building go to work and can coach with the experience on their resume that they played in the National Football League.
Well, and that's an important thing for Brandon to absorb. You're a guy that's been there and done that. And we talked a little bit earlier about Al Harris and what his work with the secondary. And, not only Andy Heck, but Eugene Chung is helping out with that offensive line. So you have two guys that had long careers in the National Football League, had success in the National Football League, and that should carry over to the players and make them listen now.
Working alongside Ryan in the truck. Both of those guys, high-level professionals.
I think Andy still has that same haircut, doesn't he?
I said I could have picked him out. Coach Andy Goldberg.
Just having fun with you, Andy.
Rob Schmall, our unit manager, and our operations manager, Dan Adu. What happened to the headshots? I like the pictures. Technical managers, beginning with Joe Schaumhettel, just one. That's right. Singular, not plural. Also, one associate director, Rudy Guzman. And associate producers, Lucas Lighty and also Ben Powers. Third down and 1 here for Vince Young with his team trailing 30-8. And that's a late flag coming in. Greg Castillo going to get called with a flag here. Technical directors, Brad Woodall and also Phil Weller. Thanks for all they've done for the past 4 games here. Graphics, Lisa Settles. And a couple to thank here on senior audio, Ken Farney and also Ryan Miller. Senior producer, Brad Young. And the Chiefs producer, that's Adam Pellegrino. Content producers, we have a number there. Kevin Greener, Evan Miller, Brock Rom, and also Nate Vaughn. And a huge thanks from me and everybody to Dana Witt. Does so much to make this experience a really, really good one every July and August. Thank you to Dana. Vince Young across the middle there on 1st and 10. Ball's out. And the Packers come up with it. And a big thanks to the executive in charge of production. I know him as the Chiefs president and the former Princeton quarterback, Mark Donovan. Thanks to everyone who makes this my second year in a row doing it, but just something I look forward to every summer.
Well, and you notice how they didn't, we had pictures of Mark earlier when we had him in the booth, but they didn't put the picture up again.
He went to Brown. My apologies.
Yes.
My apologies to Mark. Can't go wrong with an Ivy League schooler, right?
That's right.
And that may very well be, although it looks like Vince is rushing, somewhat rushing, Packers to the line of scrimmage, maybe to get off another play or two.
So, Paul, I've enjoyed it. This is our second year working together in the booth, and 2 wins in a row now for the Chiefs heading into the Jacksonville game. The Chiefs have to feel good about it, but I've enjoyed once again working these preseason games with you, and good luck with your continued success at NFL Network, and
we hope anyway.
Broadcasting some Big Ten Network games this year. So
yeah, heading up to Iowa City tomorrow. We call the Hawkeye opener.
That's hard to believe that they would pick you to do an Iowa game.
I know. For some reason, they have me next to Chuck Long instead of Mark Blassen. I don't know who was in charge of that, Trent. Maybe you could call somebody.
We're going to have to get that. Well, you have your receiver, one of your
Danon Hughes.
Danon Hughes, yeah, former Chief,
on the sideline,
going up to work the sidelines with you. So heavy Hawkeye contingent in that broadcast.
Yeah. 3 for 3 there. Danon Hughes, I believe, is already up there. Casey Wigman is back.
Casey is up there, yeah. He just sent us a text message today saying that he's going up to Iowa City, taking his son up to go to the game. So
he's not part of the broadcast as far as I know.
He is not part of the broadcast. Although, you know what? I bet Danny could probably track him down on the sidelines and get a little interview with him. So 3 seconds to go in the game, 30-8.
Trent, what do you have the Thursday night radio broadcast?
Yeah, Ian Eagle and myself, we do the Thursday night NFL games for Dial Global, which is the national radio feed for the Thursday night NFL games. So my first game is going to be the Jets at the Patriots.
That's a good one. And your third one will be?
Actually, I got bumped off of that one because Boomer Esiason has that game. So Philly going, or Kansas City going to Philly, Boomer Esiason will have that one. So I'll get the